Today marks 3 years since the mass shooting at Robb Elementary. A gunman killed 19 students and 2 teachers. Our reporter Christian Von Preysing went to Uvalde shortly after to cover the tragic event. He joins us now. Christian, you were actually in Laredo that day. You were covering the elections, but then you found out about what was happening in Uvalde. Walk us through your day.
We were heading out to Laredo to cover the congressional election. And then all of a sudden everything changed. I saw on my phone that there was an AP alert that more than 10 students were killed in an attack. That number changed throughout the day. But at that moment, you know, I looked at Google Maps. I'm like, okay, we are 2 hours from Uvalde. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna stay here in Laredo or are we gonna continue to Uvalde? So we made the decision to go to Uvalde. We got there maybe around 1 or 2 p.m. The shooting occurred around just after 11, and it was a challenging time to be there, definitely. And you felt that things had just started to settle down because police at that time had killed the shooter. They were trying to assess the situation, but you could still tell that parents were trying to figure out what had happened. There was still a good degree of chaos that continued throughout the day.
Yeah, and in one of your live shots, I was looking back, you had actually talked to one of the community members. They were telling you that they saw students walking out with blood on their clothing. What was that like for you to hear those descriptions? I know we've covered a lot of tragic events as journalists, but this is definitely something that, you know, it's devastating.
Yeah, and what you have to understand about Uvalde is it's such a small town. It's 15,000 people, like the size of Raymondville, like the size of Donna. For a small town like that, to deal with this level of violence and something up close and personal, it's the kind of small town that there are homes directly across a small street from the school. There's no fence at the school. It's kind of quaint the way it was there in Uvalde. And so you could be standing there across the street from the school and just picturing what had happened hours before, where everybody was just trying to get out as quickly as possible. And those students were covered in blood. I didn't see that, but that clearly happened. And we could see just over on the other edge, the canal that the shooter crashed into right before he ran into the back door of the school.
And Christian, you continued your coverage in Uvalde. You went back, right, for the president was there during a visit, and you covered the aftermath and things like that. So in total, how long did you spend time in Uvalde?
Several days. I don't remember exactly. 2 or 3 days the first time we were there. Once the shooting happened, and then a day or 2 to cover the presidential visit. When the president came, I remember speaking to a young mother who brought her little baby, just a couple months old. It was May. It was hot. The baby had a little hat. She was trying to keep the baby out of the sun, but she also wanted to be there. She came from San Antonio. She wanted to be there to remember this moment herself, to share support for the community. And one thing that she said is that there's a problem in this country. In her own words, that there's a problem that led up to this. And there's a lot of debate over what exactly that problem is, where it comes from. But she recognized that there's a problem that she's gonna face as a mother for the entirety of her baby's life to keep her safe. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of parents have.
And Christian, just to kind of wrap it up here, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, as journalists, we cover a lot of different types of stories, tragic, devastating stories like you covered here. What is your main takeaway from the communities, the way that they came together during the aftermath of this event?
I think for a small town like Uvalde to come together like it did was remarkable. There were people who you would see on the street and you would strike up a conversation with, and they were out there putting out flowers or painting a sign or something like that, just to say Uvalde is strong. They were doing something, and I would ask them, and others would ask them, what are you doing? And I think even those people didn't quite know exactly why they were there, they just felt like they needed to be there and take some action to contribute to support in some way. And then afterwards, they had time to think and say, okay, you know, what really compelled me to be there was this or that. There were a lot of people who just showed up, and it was hard for them to put into words why they were there, other than they just felt like they needed to be there around the others in the community. Also, it's bizarre to see a town like that change so quickly from day to night, of the media presence, of all the attention that this town of thousands of people, very small town, was getting, and how somebody couldn't walk down a corner without several journalists asking them, tell me what happened, tell me what happened. But I think that process of repetition and of investigation allowed a lot of the media to work together to figure out what went wrong. And it was, a lot of people had to repeat a lot of painful memories in their conversations, but it also helped us understand what went wrong and get a very deep understanding of it. And hopefully that leads to some substantial changes in the state.
Well, thanks again, Christian, for joining us for our continuing coverage with Uvalde. We appreciate you. Channel 5 News did do several stories as part of our Uvalde Remembering the 21 coverage. We traveled to Uvalde to speak to victims' parents and community members. We have those stories up on our website, krgv.com.